Then of course there are other countries that have different celebrations in April and things like that, but the earliest is in Norway. The British celebrate it in March, and there are many of their former colonies. And now we get to the Americans. And why do they celebrate it, as does most of the world, probably due to their interconnections with the United States culturally and things like that. But the second Sunday of May has become the de facto overwhelming majority celebration of Mother's Day throughout the entire world. Mothers in China are being celebrated today, as well as mothers in Papua New Guinea, Canada, and the United States. The main reason for the celebration in the United States is a woman named Anna Jarvis. Anna Jarvis was the daughter of a woman named Anne Jarvis, who was a celebrated icon and leader in the women's rights movement, who believed women should get the right to vote, join. She was a suffragette, a popular movement in the late 19th century. Women should get the right to vote. Women should be able to run for office. Women should be in the workforce. Women should be paid equally. Women deserve workers' rights. Women deserve to have their voices heard politically and socially, and they are not secondary to a man in anything. So Anne Jarvis was a strong leader in this movement and inspired her daughter in many of her activities to follow in her footsteps of being a suffragette, advocating for women's political, economic, and social emancipation in the wake of a very patriarchal society, the United States, in the late 19th and early 20th century. When Jarvis's mother died in 1908, she decided to memorialize her by celebrating not just her efforts, but the efforts of all women by having a Woman's Day, or a Mother's Day, to celebrate her mother and the contributions of all mothers at her local women's club, a women's organization in Grafton, West Virginia. This the proceeds of a celebration, of a commemoration. It was meant to be a solemn occasion. It was meant to celebrate women and their impact on the workforce and on society and their contributions to the world, and to memorialize mothers who had passed away. This celebration was supposed to gain a lot of attention for women's rights and the women's movement, and was supposed to be a solemn and serious occasion, not one of frivolity and merriment. So that raised money for different women's events and movements, and eventually gained steam very, very quickly. Interestingly enough, also in West Virginia, a local church in memorializing the death of about a few hundred, I think it might have been up to 600 coal miners in a mine cave-in, and West Virginia is known for its coal mining. In June, a local church commemorated the fathers who were lost then, and that is the origins of the American celebration of Father's Day. Although Europeans were celebrating Father's Day with the feast of Saint Joseph, who was the father of Jesus in the Gospels, in Catholic countries in the 16th century. So those are some of the origins. Notice how Mother's Day has a much more extensive and deep history, owing to figures like Rhea or Frigga. But you also have got the Virgin Mary, who has a more predominant role in Christian theology and worship than her husband, Saint Joseph. So, but anyway, so Mother's Day and Father's Day started at about the same time in the United States. Father's Day kind of is a copycat of memorializing and remembering solemnly the lives of men who were lost in their work and those who were fathers among them, just as Mother's Day memorialized the loss of a mother and her impact on the women's movement. Jarvis's celebration became popular in local celebrations all throughout the area. Just like Laterite Lent was a celebration of mothers and families in Great Britain and things like that. These celebrations were not official. They were local festivals. They were commemorations. They were meetings. They were religious celebrations sometimes. Just taking time unofficially to celebrate and enjoy the family and the structure of the family in their areas. But the Mother's Day took off and came in like a wrecking ball. Only 6 years after its first celebration, Woodrow Wilson in 1914, as I said before, made it a holiday that the Americans celebrate to this day. I don't believe I think it's a national holiday. It's not a federal holiday. So the following Monday, people don't have off from work or something like that. It is not celebrated on the weekday following, just like Easter is celebrated with Easter Monday. But regardless, the holiday became extraordinarily popular and became a way to celebrate mothers and to have joy and merriment, food, flowers, gift cards, things like this. It's one of the most expensive holidays